Euphemism. Euphemism. I'm looking for an alternative and I can't find one. But perhaps I don't need one, because a euphemism is the alternative. And when the 18th century lexicographer Dr. Johnson was compiling his first comprehensive English dictionary, he actually left the word out. He was a man who liked straight talking.
Well, if you go back to the Greek, the origin of the term, it means to speak fair, which is exactly what euphemism does. And there's a wonderful definition by Quentin Crisp, the very flamboyant writer and actor. He said that euphemisms are unpleasant truths wearing diplomatic cologne, which I think wonderfully describes how we verbally sidestep something unpalatable.
So euphemism is there to say, make something more comfortable, sweeter, gentler.
Exactly, to add a bit of perfume.
Nigel REES wrote a whole book on euphemisms, helped by his better half.
My wife has a rather good definition of a euphemism, which is when you don't call a spade a spade. You call it an agricultural lifting instrument to avoid using the ugly word spade.
Of course, the subjects for which we feel we need euphemisms change according to the times we live in.
For example, the Victorians balked at childbirth, bankruptcy, prostitution. We know the cliché that Victorians used to cover up the legs of chairs. That may not be true, but linguistically they certainly referred to chair legs as limbs. The word leg was considered risque. Similarly with chicken, we weren't allowed to talk about chicken breast, it had to be white meat. And that leads to a wonderfully, probably apocryphal story involving Winston Churchill being at a dinner party. He's asked what kind of meat he'd like, and he says he would like breast, please. And he's told in no uncertain terms that they're not allowed to use that word. What do we say then? He asks. White meat is the answer. And the very next day, legend has it, he sent the woman who had told him this a corsage with the note, "Pin this on your white meat."
Some concerns have stayed constant for centuries, like getting drunk, procreating, and of course, going to the lavatory. A euphemism in itself.
I think the most charming euphemism for going to the lavatory I came across was from a woman in a Norfolk tennis club who broke off playing and saying, "I'm just going to turn the vicar's bike round." And I had an uncle who was a Battle of Britain pilot, and he said, "I'm sorry, I'm just going to make a telephone call to Hitler."
Death, of course, remains something we're all squeamish about. And a lot of the accepted words we use about it today actually started out as euphemisms themselves.
We talk about undertakers, which of course began as simply anybody who would undertake a task. We talk about funeral parlours, memorial centres. Actually, even the word coffin began as a euphemism because it means little basket. There's a whole soft focus and gauze curtain surrounding all of these subjects. And there have been many wonderful sketches, of course, that have played upon that, including their parrot sketch. Famously used, in fact, by Margaret Thatcher at a party conference.
Referring to the Liberal Democrats' new logo, she quoted Monty Python and that legendary dead parrot sketch.
"This is an ex-parrot. It is not merely stunned, it has ceased to be, expired and gone to meet its maker."
Everybody got the joke, though Mrs. Thatcher did ask if this Mr. Python was one of us. Of course, politics is an area rich in euphemism. It's all lies, damned lies, and euphemism. So, to euphemize or not to euphemize? That is the question.
I suppose genteel people use euphemisms mostly to avoid being direct, avoid getting to the point, avoid saying something simple and obvious, and as I would wish they.
It's an incredibly powerful device, euphemism. It can deliver irony, sarcasm, kindness, humour, almost whatever we want it to. And I think for as long as we are social animals, we will always need it.
If you'll excuse me, I feel I've got to see a man about a dog. Got to turn the vicar's bike around. Got to wring out my socks.